What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of DJ Reacts. We've got another great show for you today. Do me a favor, hit that like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you're getting any good information from here. If you enjoy being here, it's free, doesn't cost you a thing. Also, this is for entertainment purposes only. Please don't believe anything you hear on here, anything you see. Do your own research for yourself. And on that note, let's get it started.
Have you heard about the Agartha Network conspiracy theory? It's the idea that the Earth is hollow and a secret society called the Agartha Network lives inside. They supposedly have advanced technology and supernatural powers, and control major events in human history from underground. Some people even believe the entrance to their world is in Antarctica. But there's no scientific evidence to support this theory, and it's widely regarded as a conspiracy with no basis in fact. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
Whether you believe the Hollow Earth theory or not, let me just ask you this. Why does it remain forbidden to fly over the poles? Why at some point in time did Google Earth censor polar latitudes? Why are seeds, plants, and tropical trees found floating in the water from the interior of the icebergs? Why has there been repeated stories throughout history of an inner civilization powered by an inner sun? How come statistically the UFO activity increases around possible entrances to Hollow Earth? Why has NASA in the past censored images related to the poles of the Earth?
You know, that just reminds me, I don't know how many years ago, but years ago on Google Earth in Antarctica, there was this big black hole, and it's the hole that Admiral Byrd was said to have flown through. And once it started to become mainstream and people were talking about it and trying to inquire, then Google kind of smudged it out and made it blend in with the rest of the ice. But that hole was there, and some people have photos of it from back then. It was big enough for 3 or 4 747s to fly into, and it wasn't a hole in the ground. It was a hole up top, up high into the side of what looked like a mountain.
The Hollow Earth one, I was like, that is so ridiculous. But then they discovered 3 times as much water inside the Earth than there is in the oceans.
Literally, there's like massive empty spaces down there, bigger than the Grand Canyon.
The finding published in Science suggests that a reservoir of water hidden in the Earth's mantle is more than 400 miles below the surface. All this water, 3 times the volume of water on the surface, is trapped inside the rocks.
If there were voids within the Earth, and there was like some kind of heat source, theoretically, some life form could evolve down there just like we did.
Je peux vivre! Non, non, vous êtes trop lourd! J'ai un problème de glande! Les Morlocks, les Sheds, les peuples taupes! On ne peut pas s'échapper de la forteresse du...
They found another advanced world just outside of Antarctica. They don't want us going there. Once you understand, there's more land beyond Antarctica. What's another word for more? Extra. What's another word for land? Territory. Put that together in a word, extra terra. If somebody came from the extra terra outside of Antarctica, we might call them an extraterrestrial from the outer space.
These people inside the Hollow Earth have been living there for 2,500 years. There is one continent inside the Earth and one ocean. Their capital city is built around the original lost Garden of Eden. The vegetation grows like a paradise. The people live to be up to 800 years old. They communicate with telepathy. The inner Earth people have built these androids that fly their flying saucers out to reconnoiter the outer Earth. Our government has been knocking flying saucers out of the sky and back engineering these flying saucers. The people that live in the Hollow Earth are not extraterrestrials. They're from the lost tribes of Israel.
Agartha is a legendary underground city or civilization that is said to exist beneath the Earth's surface. The concept of Agartha is primarily associated with esoteric and occult beliefs, particularly within certain New Age theories. According to these beliefs, Agartha is described as a hidden realm inhabited by advanced beings who possess advanced technology and spiritual knowledge. It is often portrayed as a utopian society where peace, harmony, and enlightenment prevail. Some proponents of Agartha believe that its inhabitants are descendants of an ancient civilization, such as Atlantis or Lemuria. It is believed that the entrances to Agartha can be found at the Earth's poles and that hidden passages or tunnels exist leading to the underground realm. Some propose that Agartha can be accessed through certain sacred or remote locations around the globe, often associated with ancient myths and legends. The origins of the Agartha myth can be traced back to various sources, including Theosophy, a spiritual movement founded by Helena Blavatsky in the late 19th century. Blavatsky wrote about subterranean realms in her book The Secret Doctrine, which influenced subsequent interpretations and narratives surrounding Agartha. Blavatsky presented the idea of a hidden hierarchy of spiritual masters or Mahatmas who were said to dwell in remote locations, including Agartha. She claimed that these enlightened beings were the custodians of ancient wisdom and guided humanity's spiritual evolution from behind the scenes. Agartha is often intertwined with secret societies such as the Thule Society, the Vril Society, and the Rosicrucians. These groups are believed to have knowledge of Agartha and work to protect its secrets.
Yeah, you should look up Helena Blavatsky. Pretty interesting read right there. I had family in the Thule Society in Germany, but they were dead before I was born. But I did hear stories and, things from my family talking about them. Very, very into mystics and the occult, but they were just looking for a lot of secret knowledge that has been lost. One thing I will say, though, is I've studied Agartha and their capital city of Shambhala, and there's legends, especially in these older books from Asia, saying that one of the entrances to Agartha is in Tibet, because the spiritual masters in Agartha wanted someone that was, a good soul, a pure soul, like the monks in Tibet, to be the guards. So there's an entrance in Tibet, but being that it's on the other side of the world and it's guarded by a Buddhist monk, then you would have to walk for days to actually get there. Like, you wouldn't have to do that if you were in Antarctica, because it's much closer to Antarctica. But that's just what I've read, just putting that out there.
Let's talk about Agartha and the beings that live there. Now listen, I'm not saying an inner world does or doesn't exist, but I thought it'd be interesting to see what is actually said about these people, just in case it does exist, It is said that every planet is hollow with an advanced civilization living within them, but I don't know how much I believe this, and there's actually no evidence to prove that this isn't true. Scientists actually map the inner layers of Earth through charting seismic waves from earthquakes. So what we know of the inner Earth is only what we most likely believe to be true. Scientists have already come out and said that we don't have the technology to actually see what's inside the Earth. So there is no hard evidence to prove or disprove anything. Agarthans are inner Earth inhabitants that are made up of Lumerians and Atlanteans that went underground when their surface civilization was destroyed. The entrances are said to be at the north and south poles, protected with a force field and hidden with cloud cover. When you enter, you get to a spaceport. This is where you meet beings from across the galaxy who have missions on Earth or are just here to visit. The capital is named Talos, and it is reported to be under North California. They are highly advanced and are a spiritually elevated society. There is reported to be up to 120 cities who are all unified through the mission to help humans ascend. Beings from across the universe are in these cities, all helping to raise the consciousness of Earth. This is so that the surface civilizations can finally mesh with the inner Earth civilizations. It is said that once our consciousness rises, some of these beings will come out and become our cosmic teachers, while some humans will be sent down to learn in exchange. Apparently, it is our destiny to mesh with these inner Earth civilizations, and imagine how cool they would look though, yo. People also need to understand that these beings are millions of years ahead of us. They probably would have the technology to live inside a planet and be undetected by the primitive beings on the surface. So a civilization inside the Earth? I don't doubt it. The government has already said multiple times that extraterrestrials are real. So at this point, it's just about learning about these beings and what they're like. Let's talk about Agartha.
So, nothing against this guy, but he can't even pronounce seismic right, so I don't know. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. He's probably just regurgitating, an accumulation of things that he's seen on YouTube or read online or something. I don't know why there would be a spaceport there when it's inner Earth. It's not Men in Black, so, but part of that is from the things that I've studied, multiple species of people live there, but it's nothing about coming up and being your spiritual masters or a spaceport or anything like that. But yeah, there is scientific evidence in the fact that when you have groups of people together, like at a concert or a football game, the hive mind starts to come into play, and scientists have measured this. They've put these things out there at many stadiums throughout the U.S. And so whenever there's like a serious hurricane or storm or an earthquake that's about to come, they notice that the energy shifts and everyone starts to feel a bit more tense, and they know something's coming. And that's that. You're born with that. That's that innate sense of danger that you're born with. So you should always trust that. But yeah, like I said, take it with a grain of salt, but do your research. I do believe that there is Agartha out there, because Admiral Byrd was such an honorable man. This is not a man who would lie, and he was sworn to secrecy until his deathbed. He was sworn to secrecy permanently, but on his deathbed, he wanted to get it out. So he had been writing in his diary, and he finally told his son when he was on his deathbed what actually happened. And Admiral Byrd is the one resource that I would trust, the one source of truth through all of this. That's an actual person that's been there. So I would say do your research, but do a lot of research. Don't just listen to what people say, because they add all kinds of fluff and all kinds of things that they've heard from other people, all of this hearsay. And so just don't fall down that rabbit hole.
Ayon sa mga sinaunang paniniwala, ang isa pang mundo ay hindi matatagpuan sa kalawakan, kundi ito ay nasa loob ng ating daigdig. Ang tawag sa lugar na to ay Agartha. Sa Hinduism naman, ang tawag dito ay Aryavarta. Ito ay isang inner world na kung saan naninirahan ang mga iba pang sibilisasyon at nilalang na mas matalino at mas dalubhasa sa mga tao sa larangan ng teknolohiya. Ang pinakasentro ng lugar na ito ay tinatawag na Shambhala. Ito ang syudad kung saan naninirahan ang King of the World o ang Hari ng Mundo. Maliban sa Agartha ay mayroon pang mga ibang underground city, tulad ng Telos, Pathala, Bugavati, Xinghua, Shonse, at Rama. Posible ba na ang isa pang mundo ay nasa loob ng ating planeta? Ang Hollow Earth Theory ay hindi lamang nababase sa mga sinaunang istorya. Maraming mga tanyag na scientist na nagsabi na posibleng hollow nga ang ating planeta. Noong 1962, inihayag ng siyentipiko na si Edmund Halley na ang ating daigdig ay binubuo ng hollow shell. Dalawang inner concentric shells at isang innermost core. Ang atmosphere ang humihiwalay sa mga shell na ito at bawat shell ay mayroong sariling magnetic poles. Ang bawat shell ay umiikot sa iba't ibang bilis at ito raw ang dahilan kung bakit minsan ay hindi maayos ang pagbasa ng compass. Noong 1947, isang US Admiral ang nagsabing aksidenteng nakarating sa lugar ng Agartha. Noong mga panahong iyon ay pabalik-balik ang Admiral sa North Pole at siya rin ay pumupunta sa lugar ng Antarctica hanggang sa ito ay aksidenteng makakita ng lagusan papunta sa loob ng ating daigdig. Gumawa ang Admiral ng isang diary upang pasikreto nitong may sulat ang kanyang paglalakbay sa North Pole noong 1947. Bandang alas 10 ng umaga sa kanilang paglalakbay ay may nakita silang bulubundukin at lambak ng ilog o batis. Nagtaka.
Yeah, I didn't understand any of that except for the English words. If you got any of that, put it down in the comments. I'm curious as to what they were saying. I just want to know if they're saying anything differently than the other things that I've heard. Of course, I could, just put Google Translate up to it, but I don't know what language that is. It's not Hindi, I don't think. But yeah, if you know, just put it down in the comments. Let me know. I'm curious. And I'm sure other people are too.
Those of you that follow me will know that I split my time between Italy and the UK. Now, from Sicily, it's an hour flight to Rome. I caught the flight and I went to check out the Vatican. Beautiful building, great architecture, lots of hidden secrets and sacred geometry. Now, people look like specks of rice compared to this building. That's how big it is. Now, look at this giant door here. This is what this video is about. What is the purpose of doors? The purpose of a door is to let you through and to keep people out. Now, look at the size of the archways and the doors, and look at the size of the people. Now, pay attention to where the handles should be on the doors. You've got one very low for normal sized humans like us, and there were previously ones for giants. The symbolism on the floor is seashells and stars, the 8-pointed star, and I'll make a video on that later. Now look at the bolt on the top of this door. Look at how small this guy is. Now, as he closes the door, you will see at the very top, there's a bolt. Like, when we have bolts on our door, we slide the top one, we do the middle one, and then we maybe key it. Why would it be up there if you can't reach it? Now, it can only mean that these giant structures and giant doors were built for giant people. Now, I've touched on this with Tartaria, and you had different sizes of giants, just like you have different sizes of people today, ranging from 4 foot to 7 feet. Now, these other doors are around the Vatican and buildings around the Vatican. And look at where the handle is on the door. Now, this door here has been cut to make space for a normal sized human. But in reality, this door is double the size of a normal human. And you can see the holes there. Look at the holes in the middle where the handles used to be. They've been removed and they've been put lower for normal sized humans, which come up to about the breast or the belly button. This is called the Pantheon in Rome. Great tourist site. You'll see me on the next picture there with my hat, and I'm pointing up at where the handles used to be. Now, these giant doors, megalithic structures all over Rome. It's littered with these, with giant columns, big stones, and big doors for big people. And look at this. The handles are above the guy's head. And this was funny because he opened the smaller door, which they cut. They cut to make this the size for smaller people. And he walks in. That made me laugh. And I caught this live in Rome. So you can have a look at the style of the building. This building is a Tartaria style building with a Phoenician fascia over it. Now, I will make more videos on Tartaria and Phoenicia and explain to you what's going on here with the lion heads and the columns and the triangles above it. But this is a church not too far from the Vatican, a smaller one. As you can see, just above it there's a sign, and the sign has been painted on with the name, but it's very primitive looking. You can tell we today are inheritors of this structure, and we have and look, you can see where the handles are. We've just kind of claimed it and repurposed this building and claimed it as a church. But look how big the handles are, and look at where they're positioned on the door.
So you still don't believe that giants existed? Okay. Let me ask you this question. Why is it when settlers find new land, the first thing they do is build these gigantic megastructures with these huge doors? We're talking about a time where resources and materials weren't so easy to come by. And yet, you're building doorways like this? It's not even practical or realistic. Somebody must have got the measurements wrong. Some say they built these doors because they look nice. Some say they built these doors because they was easier to operate. And some say you need to be 36 feet to use them.
If you've heard about the Tartarian Empire, you're in the right place. You ever wonder who built those things? Because the people at the time were horse and buggy people. They had primitive tools. They didn't have technology to work with masonry and steel and rebar and to bend metal and do all this amazing stuff that they did. They also, whoever built these things, in these cathedrals, these buildings, these architectural masterpieces, built giant doors. Who could fit in those doors? Have you guys ever taken a look at what's in the New York Times archives in the late 1800s and early 1900s? There are dozens and dozens of articles about giant humanoid skeletons being discovered. Some of them were 10 to 15 foot tall. They had horns growing out of their heads, some of them. Others were buried with giant battle axes. There was one article where they found 68 giant skeletons all together. The average size was 7 foot tall. Some were significantly taller than that. So are we still believing the dinosaur story? Or do you think that maybe there is a whole epic saga of our history that has been intentionally concealed from the masses? So then we wouldn't know who built these architectural masterpieces with the gigantic doors. What other technology did they have? You've heard about.
So one thing I will say on that is the Smithsonian Institution is going through a major lawsuit right now because of things like this. You know, the giant bones. Archaeologists were finding these giant bones all over the world in pretty much every country on the planet. And so when the Smithsonian got there, they pretty much took over the dig and took the bones away, and from what's being said is they destroyed them. So right now they're going through this massive lawsuit for destroying property, destroying history, and keeping history away because it was a lie. You know, they're trying to keep the lie going. And all of this started in 1920, you know, with certain groups, and it's continuing today. So do your research on that. You'll see what I'm talking about.
You guys, there used to be giants and people that could build a lot better and beautiful. Every single thing they built in the 1800s, 1700s, 1600s and before was beautiful, amazing. Have y'all noticed that even the maids wore amazing outfits? Everybody dressed well. In the old days, we've been dumbed down. We've been uglied. We've been uglied up and dumbed down. We don't know anything about our past, that is for sure, except for we knew these people were architectural geniuses. Oh, with horses and buggies? Yeah, right. If you notice when you see old footage, everybody was dressed perfectly, and they were not dirty or sweaty, but you think they didn't have electricity and drove horses? Yeah, right.
The giant.
To see this, I think I might have found an actual real depiction of what the Nephilim giants that used to roam the earth looked like. Check this out. When you look at the image of this creature, it has to make you wonder, where would you even get the idea to make something that looks this terrifying, this massive, and this disgusting? Like, this is not something that just comes out of your imagination to create. This is the things that they were seeing in the lands at those times, allegedly. That explains who a lot of these giant weapons were used by, the Nephilim giants. Was there really an ancient race of giants that roamed the earth and ate people? Is this depiction of the Nephilim giant actually just a statue, or is it a real stuffed Nephilim? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
We know, swimming in the money, come and find me. Nemo, if I was at the club, you know I balled. Chemo.
These giant great beasts petrified in stone. I don't know what happened to this world, but it was strong enough to petrify these giant great beasts right where they were standing. It must have been a really evil time for this to happen. Or could have this just been an unfortunate accident that this happened to this giant world and we only see glimpses of its petrified past?
According to a belief, the bodies of the Nephilim transformed into mountains. The Bible mentions that when fallen angels procreated with humans, their offspring, known as Nephilim, came into existence. These beings were described as possessing immense strength and being of colossal stature. However, at some point in human history, they mysteriously disappeared. In an intriguing theory, it is proposed that during Noah's flood, a significant number of Nephilim were petrified, eventually transforming into the mountains we observe today. Throughout history, there have been allusions supporting this idea. For instance, in a speech delivered by Abraham Lincoln in 1948, he spoke of an extinct species of giants whose remains filled the mounds of America. Additionally, hikers who have explored mountains and caves claim to have encountered formations resembling giant human shapes. These references raise the question of whether these occurrences provide evidence for the theory that the Nephilim's bodies were fossilized, ultimately becoming the mountains we encounter. The connection between historical accounts, ancient speeches, and first-hand observations by hikers provokes curiosity regarding the possible truth behind this hypothesis. Further exploration and investigation are needed to ascertain the validity of these claims.
Andrew Dawson filmed what he claimed was a giant on top of a mountain in Jasper National Park in Alberta, Canada. In the following days, he tried to get closer to find and film the creature, but in the process claimed to be stopped, harassed, followed, and stalked by the CIA. He then stops posting videos for over a month, and when he returns, uploads an update video that is extremely strange, and viewers pointed out that it seemed like it was forced. His next video that he uploads would be his last, because a month and a half later, sadly, tragedy struck. That's a brief overview of this strange saga. I just uploaded a full-length video documenting this on my YouTube channel.
The bodies of the Nephilims turned into mountains. It is known that when fallen angels mate with humans, they end up producing offspring. that in the Bible are referred to as the Nephilims. These creatures are a powerful group of people that are said to bear insane strength and are huge in size. However, somewhere in the history of humanity, they all just vanished. Now, this might sound crazy, but there is a theory that it was during the flood of Noah where the majority of the Nephilims were petrified, and their bodies eventually became the mountains that we see today. Over the course of history, there are references to this, like in the 1948 speech given by Abraham Lincoln, talking about a species of extinct giants whose bones fill the mountains of America, or that hikers who hiked up mountains and caves say it resembles a giant human shape. So, is this proof that the bodies
This is real proof that giants used to walk this earth. A lot of people believe that giants are no more than a fiction story that somebody made up. But there's real life proof across the entire world that proves they actually existed. Believe it or not, there's been a whole lot of giant bones found since the early 1800s. And scientists still can't figure out where they came from or how they even got there. There's even hidden CIA documents that talks about the existence of giants. And they probably hid the information because they don't want you to know how significant giants were in our past. Like in 1988, there was a giant finger found in Egypt. That one finger could explain how these pyramids actually got here, or how these huge statues on Easter Island did. The existence of giants is even in the Bible. If you guys want to read this verse, go ahead and pause the video. So make sure you keep an open mind about the world we live on, because all of these bones ended up randomly vanishing with small traces of their existence. Now, if you guys want to hear a true story about a giant found by the US military, then be sure to comment 444 and I'll break down the story that was also hidden. Y'all stay conscious. This is real proof.
Like Egypt. To this day, we can't build those fucking buildings the way they did it. People could say, oh, we certainly could. 2,500,000 stones that weigh between 2 and 80 tons. If you put 10 of those a day in place, it would take you 600 plus years to make the Great Pyramid of Giza. That's how fucking crazy that building is. So if you say we could build that today, good luck, bitch. If you're off by literally like a quarter of a centimeter with each block, you're fucked by the time you get to the top. Yeah. Think of that. Like, if you're lopsided one way or the other, by the time you get to the top, you're fucking doomed. There's interesting theories about how they did it, but none of them really sink in. Like, what the fuck did you do? How did you do this?
As we continue our exploration into the mysteries of the Tartarian giants, we've made a remarkable discovery. These colossal beings, living proof of the incredible science and engineering of their time, were intentionally created for a significant purpose.
This is a fragment of episode 6, Female Giants. Unlock the truth about female giants in this upcoming episode in our TikTok series. Buy our TikTok series now and get instant access to episode 6 upon release. Join us in this quest.
But now that I know, this totally look like big toes sticking out of the grass. Big toes? Yeah. Honey, you're walking on the giant's big toes. You better make sure he doesn't start wiggling.
You're not gone.
There are giant corpses out there in the world turned to stone. And I get it, you're just gonna say this is a statue, then how about these random rock formations popping up in the world then? There are giant corpses.
Once you see it, you cannot unsee it.
Somehow the Nephilim survived after the flood, but how did they do it? The Bible and extra-biblical texts such as the Book of Enoch don't tell us exactly how this happened, but there's little bits of information we can pull from and derive some theories. One Jewish text says King Og, a Nephilim giant, held on to the side of Noah's Ark. A very plausible explanation is that Nephilim genetics lived on from one of the people who was on Noah's Ark. But I believe the most plausible theory is connected to what happened the first time Nephilim appeared on the earth. And that's when the fallen sons of God came to earth the first time, took wives for themselves, and created these Nephilim offspring. I cover this in full detail and one other theory in a video I just posted on my YouTube channel.
How did the Egyptians build these pyramids? What if we had 30 to 40 foot giants on this planet? They built the pyramids, but to them they were just like small little rocks. Genesis makes a direct correlation between giants and mankind.
But there are also hieroglyphics of giants just physically lifting these stones up.
How did the Egyptians?
Alright, that's it for our show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. It's free. Let's run the numbers up on the algorithm so we can get this information out there and make people aware. Just get everybody thinking about, what our world really is. I will say about the Egyptian one, the Egyptians were the greatest historians of any age. They wrote down everything, and so it's in there. It's not even hieroglyphics. It's actually drawings of giant people lifting these stones and having the regular sized people, which would be us, the Homo sapiens sapiens, helping with the smaller stuff. That's in their writings. And it was even in books in the greatest library to ever exist, which was the Library of Alexandria from Alexander the Great. But unfortunately, a good chunk of that was burned down, and the Vatican got the rest of the books, and they keep it in their vaults, and it's kept hidden away, which is sad because we're just now trying to find out what's really going on with our world. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. I really appreciate you stopping by and watching with me, and we'll see you soon.